Bike Chat with Oswald Bowman coming from Brooklyn, New York. Hey, Coach Finnegan, how you doing today? Thanks for being on Bike Chat. Let's chop it up a little bit with some basketball. We see St. John's got knocked out in the second round. I was hoping they go a little deeper, but I think Duke is going to be there in the final.
I told you that St. John's might make it to Sweet 16, but if they didn't play well, they weren't going to make it Sweet 16. And yes. Duke is definitely going to take it all the way. I don't see anybody beating them.
Yeah, I think they're going to end up in the finals. But let's talk about our Knicks, man. Our Knicks is sitting in third place.
And that's the way they're going to be staying because they ain't going any further than third place.
You don't think so?
No.
I told you the center came back. They're playing better defense, so I think they're gonna make it out.
They'll make it to the second round, but they're not going any further than that. If they meet Boston or Cleveland in the second round, they're not going any further than that. There's no way.
I think Cleveland is just a regular season team.
You're looking at it like Oklahoma was last year. Like Oklahoma was last year. They ran the West and then they got knocked out in the playoffs. That's the way you're looking at it. The Cleveland's running the East, and you think they may get knocked out. But the Knicks, I don't see the Knicks being the team to knock them out.
Then in the West, my Lakers is back. James is back.
Yeah, but they dropped to fourth place. They were in second place while they dropped all those games while he was out.
Yes.
It looked like he needed a vacation. I think he faked his injury.
He was playing hard for a long time, man. He carried the team. He got them right up to second place, right behind Oklahoma. And that's another team. And I think that I don't see them make it out. I mean, they have a pretty good regular season, but you see, like so many times, a lot of these teams have big wins in regular season, but come playoff, it's a whole different game.
Right. I mean, listen, last year Dallas beat them, and Dallas had they weren't as good as Denver is. I don't know how they got past Denver last year, but I don't see them going any further than the second round either. Oklahoma, because they're gonna run into either Denver or maybe even the Lakers will beat them.
Yeah, I really think so. With James back and Luka.
And Luka lost a lot of weight since coming over to the Lakers.
Yeah, he's down to 217.
217 from 270.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of weight to lose. He's a good player, but the Lakers still need more players. They still need somebody else. I mean, if they had kept Anthony Davis and this kid came over, I would say they would win the West.
Yeah.
They still need somebody else.
But always remember, man, that James. I mean, I know he's not young anymore. He's 40, but how many teams he took to the playoff without him have top guys? I mean, just look at the Cleveland team.
Well, you're looking at it. Only the Cleveland team didn't have top guys that he took to the playoffs. Every other team that he went to had good players. You know what I'm saying? That one team that he took with Varachal and all those other guys, those no-name guys, that was the only team he ever took far. But these other teams that he went to, Miami, right after that, I mean, come on, you had Dwayne Wade, you had Bosh, you had Ray Allen. Those are good players.
Yeah, that was good.
And you still lost. You still lost to Dallas. You still lost to San Antonio.
But it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a real good regular season, a real good playoff season. The regular season was great. You have. I don't think Milwaukee is going nowhere in the East.
Nah, Damian Lillard just got a blood clot. He can't play.
Also, he's out.
He's out.
I think I saw the Boston Star got hurt too.
Jason Tatum twisted his ankle the other night. So he's going to be out for a couple of days. Jason Tatum twisted his ankle the other night. So he's going to be out.
Yeah, and for your team in the West also, you have is Curry coming back in time for the playoffs?
He'll be back in time for the playoffs. Although Miami smacked them up last night, Golden State.
Yeah, but you're gonna have those
Jimmy Butler coming home.
Yeah.
smack them around, beat them by 26.
Yeah, you're
You
gonna
know,
have those kind of games.
but that team's gonna go nowhere if they don't have a guy like Curry. So the
Yeah,
GM better get to work.
yeah, they need him.
You know, because without a guy like that, they ain't going nowhere either.
Yeah.
They need a few more pieces.
So man,
You know,
yeah, I know. I don't know if you remember a couple of weeks ago you had Stephen A. Smith had he and James had a little thing going on there in the court.
yeah, but you
Uh,
want to know what? I mean, listen, the guy saying don't talk about my son, this, that, and the third. But you're the guy who brought your son into the league, not knowing that he's not ready for the league.
but
The
you see,
kid should have stayed in the
he had
G
a
League.
couple of very good game in the G League a couple of days ago.
Yeah, exactly. He's got to stay in the G League. Let him stay in the G League and get developed. The kid wasn't even that good in college.
Yeah, I think he's gonna come around.
I think his brother's better than him. The Bryce.
Yeah,
Just like the Mello brothers. I told everybody the younger brother's better, and there you go.
yeah,
He's playing on Charlotte and he's doing good. He's doing way better than his brother.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sometimes it takes kids a couple of years to
They got to develop.
yeah,
This thing doesn't happen overnight. I mean, listen, it's once in a lifetime thing. LeBron was once in a lifetime thing. Came right into the league and played awesome.
yeah.
It's gonna be another 10, 20 years before you see something like that again.
Yes,
You
yeah,
know?
he's a lot. This is a huge discussion over the years that who's the GOAT. But when you put all his stats together, I mean, he's top five in all the records in the NBA. So you
Yeah.
kind
All
of have to
right.
give him the
But
GOAT.
so
I mean, Michael
so
had a good run for 6 years.
how many years did Michael play?
I think what 10 years,
14. I think it was.
14 years.
How long has LeBron been in the league? Over 20 years.
Oh yeah,
Okay, so he played 6 more years longer than Jordan. That's 200 something 40, like 250 games more than Jordan, and he only outscored Jordan by that many points, 18,000 points. If Mike would have stayed in the league, Mike would have probably had 60,000 points if you do it by the average.
yeah. Well,
So when you're talking semantics now, when you start saying stuff like that, you know what I mean? LeBron don't have heart.
well,
He don't.
but yeah, well, Jordan was the kind of guy. He shows up.
And everybody keeps saying LeBron, Michael Jordan, the GOAT. Everybody forget about Kobe.
Yeah, well, Kobe, you would you put him ahead of James though?
Yes, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I kind of disagree with you with that. I think James is first when it comes to these guys. I mean, you have other guys that had 11 rings,
Bill Russell.
but when it comes to when it comes to Jordan, look,
You want to talk about rings, and then Bill Russell would be the best player ever to play the
yeah,
game.
if you go by rings,
Right.
but there's no. It's hard for me to put
You got to go by
Jordan in
who
top
had the
of
most.
James.
You got to go by who had the most impact on the game. If you think about it, you got to go that way.
Yeah,
And Jordan had
don't
more
you think
impact on the
James
game
does?
than
I mean,
anybody.
James took a lot. Remember, it
Yeah.
took John about 7 years before him get. He didn't come in the league and won playoff games.
But you also remember, you got to remember when Jordan came into the league, he took a coke infested team to the playoffs. He went to the playoffs with a bunch of bums, and he ran into Boston.
He
You know what I
went.
mean?
He ran into Detroit first, didn't he?
No, it was Boston. It
Yeah.
was Boston first with that bum ass team, all coke infested, and then they started putting the team together with Armstrong and Horace Grant, Scottie Pippen, and they ran into the Detroit Pistons in the 88, 89. And it wasn't until 90 when they got past them. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So listen, and you think about it, if you really want to look at it, Jordan only had what? If you want to say like all-star players and stuff like that, if you go to do the top 75 players, Jordan only had Pippen. That was it.
Yeah.
LeBron
He had
had
some good.
like
Yeah.
9 or 12 guys that are on the all 75 team. And he still couldn't do it like Jordan. So you got to think about it like that. And in the 9 of the 14 years that he played, if I'm not mistaken, in all 9 years, out of the 14, he played all 82 games.
All they do.
All
Yeah, well,
82 games.
James, yeah,
James never done that.
never
I
been
haven't
able
I
to.
haven't I never seen him play all 82 games.
Yeah, he's the only player kind of play all these years without he never got hurt.
You know? Hey, listen, you spend $1 million on your body a year to be trained. What do you think's gonna happen? If you get hurt, you better get a refund. You know what I mean?
But this is gonna be an amazing playoff. I look. I think the Lakers gonna go a good make gonna make a good run.
No,
Uh,
they'll make a run, but they're gonna run into
Denver, the
somebody
only
that's gonna beat them.
team. Uh, the Nuggets is the only team I think with the Joker that
That's the only team I can see coming out of the
that
West right
yeah
now.
yeah you
You know what
can't
I'm saying?
yeah
If the Lakers pull something off and beat them, then you know I, I don't see them winning a championship. Not against Boston. Not against Boston. Boston got too many players, too many
uh,
weapons.
yeah I
You
don't
know what I
see
mean?
Boston winning this
They
year
got a
either.
lot of out. They got a lot of outside shooting.
Yeah, but John, in the playoff, once these guys without outside 3 point shooting,
Yeah,
if
you
these guys
know.
are cold, they're not gonna win.
Yeah, but that coldness can only be for one game. You gotta play. You gotta win. You gotta play 7 games. You gotta win 4 of them
So
to be
so
the
you think
champions.
uh, Boston could beat uh, Denver Nuggets, the
They
Joker?
could yeah, they could possibly be beat them. Yes,
Yeah, I
I
first
think so.
I think Boston is gonna come out the East, but I don't
I
see
and
them
I could
being.
I can see Denver coming out of the West, but again, if the Lakers go on some kind of mysteriously good run, that's but
Yeah,
I don't see that happening.
yeah,
Just like I told you, St. John's was. I can only see them going to the Sweet 16. They didn't even make it to the Sweet 16.
yeah. They got knocked out in the second.
You know, but I didn't. As far as that, I mean, like I said, the Knicks. If the Knicks could pull off a miracle, have a miracle run like the Giants did, then you know that's the only way I could see them winning.
Yeah, the Knicks. I know the center came back, and I know the guard is
Call
coming
Anthony
back.
Towns,
No,
Jalen
they
Brunson.
have.
I haven't seen Jalen Brunson back yet. He might be back tonight. I don't even know.
Yeah, I think he's on his way back. He was supposed to be out like 10 days, so I think he should be
Uh,
coming back.
he,
And I think we
like I
have how
said,
many more games left in the regular season?
uh, oh, wait, I don't even know.
I think the regular season we have about 9 games left.
It might be. It might be
Yeah,
9 games.
it's coming up. Yeah,
9 to 10 games. Um, let's see. I want to check. Jalen Brunson. No, he's not back. He's not playing tonight.
is that back?
No, he's not back. They're playing the Clippers tonight. You know,
Yeah.
so
Look, and they I think there was like 2 games or 3 games ahead of Indiana, so they have a couple games, so they
listen.
don't have
If
to
they
rush
can,
them
if
back.
they no, 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 definitely. If they can hold their spot in third, they'll be all right.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? The only other team that they need to be afraid of is Indiana and the whole. I mean, the Hawks. The Hawks got their number in the playoffs.
yeah,
I think as the kid just gets to them. But other than that, I do see this team going. I can see this team going to the third to see who can go to the finals.
yeah,
But they would have to play really really hard against whoever they play, either Boston or Cleveland. Like almost no mistake basketball.
yeah. And I think they're capable of doing that. I mean, they have one of the best coach.
With Tibbs, yeah,
You know,
yeah. He
he
would
have
have
a
to.
good
He
game
would.
plan.
But the
Uh,
only drawback to him, he just runs his starters for too long.
yeah, he
You
plays
know,
them for hard for the whole season.
yeah, and not for nothing. They got to Trent Tucker on their team, which I don't understand why he's not playing. This
Right.
guy's a defensive player. He's a 35% three-point shooter, and I'm not understand why he's not playing.
Yeah, he always
And that
have
make absolutely
probably
makes no
stars
sense to me.
starters out.
You know what I mean? That could
Yeah.
be a viable guy to bring in and give some minutes to somebody to have to sit down 5, 10 minutes. That
Uh,
5, 10 minutes is a lot when you're playing on a basketball court.
no, I know. You're a coach,
You
so
know,
he knows. Yeah,
you
it's big.
you need that 5, 10 minutes. And even if you took them out
Yeah,
each quarter for 2 minutes, give them that
yeah,
2 minute break each quarter, or whatever, 3 minutes each quarter.
yeah.
That's big.
No, it
That's
is
big
big.
when you're running up and down that court.
Yeah,
You know. But
it is big.
listen. But he's the head coach of the Knicks, and I'm not, so he must know something I don't know.
All right, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, Mr. Finnegan, thanks for being on, man. Appreciate it. We're gonna chat
Not a
again
problem, big guy.
this week
You
coming
got it.
up.
Yep.
You know, we
Let me
gotta
know.
give you a call, man. Thanks.
You got
Thanks
it.
for coming out on Bike Chat. This is Bike Chat with Oswald Bowman, coming to you from Brooklyn, New York. That's Coach Finnegan. We chop up some basketball and some college, and he will be back next week. Thanks, John.
You got it, buddy. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Bike Chat, Oswald Bowman and family present the Pre-Cross Country Meet and Greet Family Sunday.
Let's get it crunk up on that fun.
And it's all going down Sunday, April 13th at the Bird's Isle from 4 p.m. until.
Baby, Mr. Rock and come in.
Meet your favorite cyclists. Live entertainment from the Super Furia Band.
Hold on.
Along with Doggy King.
She come to tell me. She say me say she say.
And musical niceness from Mr. Frisco and Bigger Ford. There's gonna be a kid section with Bouncy Castle and more. Plenty of giveaways throughout the day. Bring out the entire family. Call 611-8294 for food vendor stall availability. Tickets available at the Angeles Press. This event is sponsored by Darius Meat Pies, Cellular World, Marie Sharp Fine Foods, Western Dairies, La Popular Bakery, and Travelers Liquors. Sunday, April 13th, a pre-cross country meet and greet family Sunday at the Bird's Isle, starting at 4 p.m. Don't miss it.
Yeah, today we had the beautiful opportunity to have Mr. Bill Elsnowen to discuss cycling, cross country. Did you see the race Sunday?
I didn't see it. I saw some of the results, excuse me, after the fact, but I didn't get to watch any of it.
Yes, it was a beautiful race. It was I think it was one of the best race I've seen in a long time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good race. It was something close to cross country.
Yeah, is that the last major one, or do they have anything else?
Yeah. I don't think there's no more race before cross country. Cross country is about Sunday 19th, so you figure out almost 3 Sundays.
Yeah.
The third Sunday is going to be the race. But
Yeah.
it was a nice race. It was an awesome race.
That's awesome.
I don't know. You think the guys are going to be recover for cross country 3 weeks? They should, right?
Yeah. I think that's fine. I mean, the races are, excuse me, getting over being sick here.
Yeah.
All the races have been roughly around 100 or so miles. So I don't think, it's not like they're doing, 6-hour cross country style races. So I think everyone's going to be recovered, and, everyone's got an opportunity now to kind of fine tune the fitness. You've had enough races to see where you're at. So now you can be like, okay, where do I need to work the last couple of weeks here to kind of fine tune myself?
Yeah, but I noticed, compare a lot of the cyclists or some of the cycling believes, you think they recover the way they do the things they do to recover compared to over here. You see a lot of cyclists, they have all the stuff they need to use to recover. Believe I don't think a lot of guys have the access to all that stuff that the guys they have here to recover.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly some material things that might be hard to come by. Like, you've probably seen like those recovery boots that you put on these huge boots, and those certainly aid in recovery. But a lot of the other stuff, just resting, keeping your legs up, getting a little massage, all that kind of stuff, protein drinks, that kind of stuff. All that stuff is pretty easily available down there. And from what I understand anyway, talking to enough of the guys, massage, I think is a fairly common thing. Guys are making sure that they're getting massage and taking advantage of that. So I think their recovery is probably fine. It's just, the other big thing is just, making sure you figure out the appropriate balance of how much training and how much volume and all that to be doing now as you kind of get close.
Your training now is supposed to be winding down, or you still should be aggressive, or no easy
You know,
ride. I mean, soft rides.
I think everybody's a little different depending on what their schedule has been, and you know, if they've had illness or anything like that that's kind of interrupted their training. Certain people can certainly be on a maybe a slightly different trajectory, but I think, you know, to me, 3 weeks out, you still have time, like maybe one more week of some pretty hard training,
Yeah,
and then, you know, maybe 2 weeks out, you really recover, and then the week of the race, you know, you do
yeah,
one, two little rides with a little bit of intensity just to make sure the legs wake up
yeah,
after that recovery. But no, I think at this point, by and large, guys can conceivably have one more week of some
yeah,
good training. And, you know, kind of like I said, it's a perfect time now after all the races they've had
yeah,
to figure out like what needs work. You know, can I make the 6 hours? Do I need to be a little faster? Do I need like those really hard 3 or 5 minute efforts to cross a gap or create a gap? And now is like this week or the next 10 days is where you know, put the finishing touches on whatever you need.
yeah. No, the last cross country road, you had that spill at mile
Yeah.
48, 45, coming back with the bunch.
Yeah, it was probably around mile 35 coming
Oh,
back.
that close, so it's much
Yeah,
closer.
mile 30 or 35. Yeah, yeah. So it was about 55 kilometers from the finish, so about 35 miles.
So the cross country you won,
Hmm.
how would you compare with the one you rode 2 years ago that you had that spell? What's the difference
Well,
in the races?
funny thing, March 26th today, 20 years on the nose since I
Wow,
won. It was 20
congrats.
years ago today. Um, you know, I think it's hard to compare, right? You're comparing because it was so long ago, to be honest. 20 years is a long time.
Yeah,
And it's, you know, training was a little bit different. Guys were just starting to get into power. Um, the riders, I mean, you know, I've seen probably two or three different generations of Belizean
yeah,
riders
yeah,
coming through the ranks. So it's, you know, and back then it was like Santino's had the big team,
yeah,
and you know, Sugar City and some of those big teams, Western Spirit, that you know, aren't really in existence anymore, and certainly almost all those guys aren't riding anymore. But point being, it was different. It was, you
yeah,
know, I mean, the race, look, the race was still hard. It was still 140 miles. But I think personally, I think the race has, you know, I think I said this to somebody in the context of some coaching or training for the race recently, is, and really in the last 10 years, yeah, 10 or 12 years, probably 10 years, the race has kind of followed a fairly similar
yeah,
pattern, that is definitely different than it was when the year I won. And that pattern now seems to be, because there are more foreigners coming,
yeah,
maybe than there used to be.
yeah, yeah,
There's a lot of these guys aren't afraid to race hard
yeah,
from the start. You know, you get a lot of guys that are willing to race hard from the start, but a lot of times they're just chasing the preems,
yeah,
you know, and they're
yeah.
probably not going to be in
Be around
contention,
for the yeah,
yeah, for the finale. But
yeah,
um, I think now you've seen it a lot. 2015, the first year Justin won,
yeah,
that breakaway went really early and it stayed away. 2016, it was um, Brandon, Joel, and one of the, you know, Joel Borland, who guys
yeah,
now probably don't even know
yeah, yeah.
Joel because he stopped racing
He's separate, yeah,
15 years ago.
yeah,
Um, but Brandon, Joel, and one of the Padillas, they went uh, they went away really early,
early,
and then it was another small group of four or five of us that
yeah,
kind of connected with them. but that breakaway went all the way to the line from like mile 30.
Yeah.
And that's happened. I think it happened in 2017. It happened a couple years ago when Oscar won, right?
Yeah.
Like Oscar, Johnny Brown,
Johnny Brown, yeah.
and and Justin's brother, Corey. They were away pretty early,
Yeah.
and they stuck it out to the finish. So I think, to me, that's kind of been the overwhelming trend. It's not been every year, but it's been overwhelming over the last decade, that an early break can make it to the line.
Could
Whereas
stick,
I don't remember that really happening back in the mid thousands. It would be maybe closer to San Ignacio where something would go, or it would be maybe shortly after the turnaround where then you really had to pay attention.
Yeah.
But now I think that's the biggest difference and part of that is in the mentality of it, right? Guys are less afraid. They're less afraid to race hard for that entire duration, which I think is a big thing. And
It's
I
a
think,
big thing now, yeah.
yeah, I think it's an important part of the training, to be honest, that mental
yeah.
approach.
20 years, when you won, they compared the road to back then. The road.
God, the road was
I know
horrible.
they did a lot of work on the road. They cut a lot of hills
Yeah,
down.
it was. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting, right? Like they cut some of the hill down through like Black Man Eddy,
Yeah.
and I forget what they call that little curve there, but yeah, that got cut down a good
Yeah,
bit.
brick wall,
Brick wall, right, brick
go
wall.
slow, Monto.
Yeah, all that stuff
All those
got
hills
trimmed
got cut.
down.
Yeah.
And so, like, I know those, for the city guys, those are still hills because they don't see anything. So those are still challenging. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they had their reasons. I think it was if I remember, it was for traffic stuff, like
with the
sight,
buses,
right, sight lines and that stuff. So I get that there was an actual need to do that. But I kind of preferred it the way it was. But also the macadam itself was so bad. It was so bad the first year I was there. It was literally part of the effort of the race was dodging potholes.
Yeah.
You had to really be careful, and all the locals, they know where they are,
Yeah.
and so they could make pretty quick changes in their line at the last minute. And if you're not paying attention, it was real easy to hit those and stuff. But the road, by and large, now, I mean, there's still a little bit of a section. Maybe it was right outside of Hattaville or something like that was a little bit beat up. But certainly when you get to Roaring Creek, all the way to the turn and back, man, that road's as nice as any road that I train on here at home. It's beautiful, beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this year we're not coming. You're not going to be in Belize this year.
Yeah, that's correct. And
Due to
I mean,
your job situation.
yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's, and I know I explained it a little bit to you via text a couple weeks ago, and it's a lot of reasons, really. And it's, excuse me, it's, as you alluded to, I crashed last year at mile
that bad accident.
35, and it was probably a harder hit than I let on initially, and certainly that I think most anybody down there kind of understood at the time. It was a harder hit, and it was another concussion, which I've unfortunately had. This is my 41st year racing, so I pride myself on not hitting the ground a lot, but when I have hit the ground, I've had more than the recommended amount of concussions, we'll say. And so that obviously played into things a fair bit of just like, last year, I got hurt, got that concussion, came home, and I was home for a little over a week, and then I had to fly to California for my first big announcing job of the year, which is one of my biggest jobs of the year to begin with.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit of a struggle to kind of do what I needed to do, in part dealing with some of the concussion symptoms and things like that. And it was a pretty quick reality check out there of like, okay, like, I've got a mortgage to pay, I've got bills to pay, and like I maybe need to be a little more careful or not careful, but I maybe need to be a little more cognizant of the danger, just the inherent danger of bike racing. And so that was a factor, just the reality of my job of the past couple years, as I've expanded my announcing, I don't really race a whole lot. Like we have like a Thursday night training race around me, which is, it's the same thing as those guys do Thursday morning, right? When they,
like a gun
the John Smith Road race, that just, whatever. It's same kind of thing, informal, fun. That's literally the only racing I've done, probably the last 2 or 3 years. So it's, they're 1 hour races, right? Obviously it's not ideal for being fit for coming down there, which is fine because my job is taken over and whatever. But there was a reality of that. There was a reality of like, I'm 55 years old. I'll be 56 in a couple,
good.
thank you, later this year. And so it's like, well, like all these guys, like even, 2016 and 17, I got 5th and 6th respectively, those 2 years. And I was 46, 47 years old, 48 years old, and like there was like, I'm looking at, Padilla, who's winning the race, is like 25 years old. Joel Borland is like 24. Brandon was like the next youngest guy, and he was in his 30s. And it's like, I'm literally old enough to be the father to all these guys in front of me. And so like, obviously, like, I can work that to my favor for X amount of time, but at some point, father time catches up with everybody. And I'm a coach, right? Like, so I still coach athletes, and so I obviously have an understanding of the physiology and what things happen to aging athletes. And I know that, like, from the time I hit probably 48, 49, and certainly 50, I'm fighting an uphill battle to be competitive with those guys. And 2023, I got 10th. I made a few tactical errors that, I probably could have gotten 6th or 7th, but the top 5, they were better than me. I wasn't going to beat those guys that day, but I could have gotten a little bit better than 10th, but I still got 10th at 54 years old. And so it was like,
in
all right.
all the cross country, you had like the one you won, then you had 3 more top 10s.
Correct. Yeah, I've done the race, I want to say 9 or 10 times. So I haven't come every year, but I got the win. I got a 5th, a 6th. I got the 10th. I've had 3 other top 20s, two other top 20s. Twice I crashed out, and once I just pulled out because I was on a bad day.
And the last crash you had, I know I saw you up front, and you was doing pretty good before that accident.
It's kind of funny, right? Like, so when I went in 2023, I was like, this is it, man. This is my last time. And I really had to think about it before I pulled the trigger. And like, I'm, again, as a coach, I'm looking at my fitness objectively, and then I'm looking at it by the numbers with the power. And I'm trying to figure out, like, mentally, do I have the capacity? Like, I was doing the rides, and doing all kinds of 6 and 6.5 hour rides. So I had the training, but like the final piece of the puzzle is like, are my numbers close enough to what they were 6, 7, 8 years ago when I was still going really well? And they were directly in line.
Oh, nice.
I was in 2023, I was as fit as I'd been in 10 years coming for that race. And mentally I was like, all right, I can embrace 6 hours of of heat, of
Yes.
suffering, of wind, and all that stuff. And I knew it was probably going to be my last one, and I was still hopeful. I figured if everything went right, maybe I could get on the podium, maybe.
Yeah.
And I said,
You
if a
came
couple
close, yeah.
things, if a couple things go wrong, I can get top 5. And like worst cases, I think I can get top 10. And I got 10th, made a few errors, but I walked away happy.
Yeah.
And I walked away thinking like, okay, like I can finally say like, I've tackled this as good as I can for as long as I can. And then last winter, it was another kind of mild winter here in the Northeast in Pennsylvania. You know, the snow, the cold,
Yeah.
all that crap. But I had a good winter training, arguably a better winter than I had the year before for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I kept my mouth shut. I didn't say a word to anybody, didn't say anything to my wife.
Yeah.
And, you know, I put a ticket on reserve with miles like 2 months out
Yeah.
because it was cheap enough with miles. And I'm like, booking it with miles, I can get out of it at any time, not lose the miles. And so
Yes.
no harm, no foul. I quietly booked the ticket and just kind of hung on to it. And then about a month before the race, you know, I kind of, you know, I hadn't said a word about it. My wife sees me doing these rides.
Yeah.
I know the wheels are turning in her head, but she's not saying anything. And so finally I kind of said one day, like, what would you think
Yeah.
if I went? Because you know, like, look, you know, we've been married almost 30 years and
Yeah.
we're both working and whatever. And if she's like got a problem with it, I'm not going to go, you know, it's fine. And you know, we talked it out and I was like, look, I said, I know last year was going to be my last. I said, this is it.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going out on a wing here that like, I actually feel better than I have felt in a few years, which is, I couldn't explain it, but that's what it was. And I'm like, you know what? And I thought about it, even up till 2 weeks before the race. I was like, am I going to do this? Am I going to do this? Because at the end of the day, my thought process was, I was happy with 10th. I could walk away
Yes.
satisfied.
No, top 10, yeah.
Yeah. And if I went back again and didn't get top 10 or screwed up, I was going to be annoyed. And then the worst part of that is I'm going to start thinking about going back again. Because like, I don't want to go out on a bad note.
Yeah.
Don't want to do that. And, you know, I was having a good race last year. I felt really good.
No,
I was
no,
confident
yeah.
and I
It
felt,
was right up there.
yeah. And
And one
the
thing I noticed,
race,
you always be right in the top, like up front. I don't see you in the back much in a bunch. You always right up
yeah,
front in the
you
top
know,
5.
I mean, I need to ride that race a certain way to fit my skill set to make it as easy as I can for myself. And so that's part of that. And last year, of all the years I've done that race, I have to say last year, you know, the race itself rode exactly how I would hope it ride to help me.
Yeah.
It was, you know, I mean, you could see what was going on very early. Like, you know, the Williams brothers came in.
Yeah.
Justin was probably not as fit as he's been in the past. Corey has never won the race, so it was everyone knew, like, look, Corey wants to get his name in the books, and that's fine. And so everybody knows, like, the best chance for that is just whittle down the field, and Corey's going to be the fastest guy left at the end.
Yeah.
You know, like if he doesn't have to be in a break, if he can just follow the wheels, and his teammates can control it, keep the pace hard, tire guys out. He's going to get to the line fresh, and it's like, man, this works great for me. Not that I'm going to beat Corey in a sprint,
Yeah.
but I know I'm going to be right in the mix.
Yeah.
And so the race worked out perfectly. That a lot of guys were getting dropped. The group was getting smaller. It was getting smaller, and I'm just like, I'm literally whistling because I'm just like, you know, like feeling good and just like this couldn't be going any better. And then just, you know, that fluke of a crash.
That's it. Yeah.
And and it was just, you know, my bike, I obviously got damaged, but my bike got damaged too. So I couldn't have finished the race, so it was what it was. But
Close to the city.
yeah, so I mean, it was a bummer. It was a bummer.
Yeah. But like when you train for cross country, do you have to do like 3 kayas and back in training, or you just train by hours?
I train by hours. Like I pay attention to the miles and the speed and obviously the power, but for me it's by time and like honestly by time and by heart rate,
Yeah,
because above all the power is great, but your heart rate is the ultimate arbitrator for how much power you're going to put out.
yeah,
So I pay very close attention to that and hours. And that said, like I always have done a lot of 6 and 6.5 hour rides to be ready.
yeah.
Never once in the years I've done that race have I actually ridden 140 miles
Oh, wow.
preparation for the race, because your body doesn't know the miles, right? Your body knows time on the bike.
Got you.
And so like to me it was like I don't need to ride 140 miles. I need to ride 6 hours and 6 hours and 15 minutes to have a little bit of insurance
Yeah,
for a race that's like 5 hours and 45 to 6 hours long. I ride a little bit longer for that extra insurance policy of duration.
yeah,
But I think the longest training rides I've really done are about, I've done a handful of 125, 128 mile rides, 6.5 hour rides, but that's it.
but how long it takes you to like get prepared for for cross country? Does it take could you do it like in a 3 month training, or you have to
Yeah,
be?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's like I could be, just the way. And again, it's like this is lending itself back to my coaching background
Yeah,
and my 41 years of racing background is I don't take a ton of time off the bike. I never really have, a week here, a week there. And as you age, that's an important thing. And I bet, like if you asked Liam Stewart, that dude probably doesn't take much time off either.
yeah,
Liam and I we're the
yeah,
same age, right?
yeah,
And one of the biggest things is the older you get, you know, you have to stay active,
you have to stay
right?
right.
And you have to keep maybe a slightly higher level of fitness than everyone else
Yeah,
all year long. It doesn't mean you need to be race fit,
yeah,
but like if I had to put a percentage on it, I'm probably even in the winter time, I'm probably at 70%.
yeah,
Just a big diesel engine, and then it's a couple months of like a few extra really long rides and
yeah.
some speed work, and that's it.
Yeah,
And it brings me up
Bill,
quick.
I don't know how you do it. Kind of to ride in the winter or the train in the winter is it's no joke.
It's tough, I mean, I'm so used to it. It's, I've lived my entire life within about 3 miles of where I live now. So in Pennsylvania, I'm right on the New Jersey border.
Yeah, yeah,
And, I mean, look, we get real winter. I mean, for a long time, I had the luxury of I would go away in the winter for a month or a couple weeks and go to warm weather and train. And certainly like 2015, 16, 17, I was able to go to some warm places for a week or two and get some time in. But really, the bulk of my winter riding is here, and as long as it's pretty dry and it's above
yeah.
30 degrees,
Yeah.
like I mean, look, they make exceptional cycling clothing these days, like
Yeah.
warm weather stuff.
Yes.
And as much as I don't like the cold, I really don't like the cold.
Yeah.
Like I can be pretty comfortable training in it because I'm dressed appropriately.
Yes.
And
That's
so
amazing
it's
because
it's it's
the winter is
genuinely
so
not
dramatic.
horrible. Yeah, it's not the most fun. I'd rather be in shorts and getting a tan, but it is what it is.
So this year cross country, um, you think an international guy is gonna win like last year, or you think one of the Belizean cyclists is prepared enough to win this cross country?
I mean, that's a good
Or,
question.
or maybe the style of riding, you think that have to change, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's still a lot of Belizean riders that they can't figure out how to ride their own race. They ride to what everybody, to what the, the foreigners do. And that's been a kind of a consistent thing the entire time I've come there is, you mentioned the foreigners, and a lot of the Belizean guys get home and, they get scared, or they get nervous, and they're just like, well, I'm just going to follow, back when I was down there, I'm just going to follow Chris Harkey, or, Scotty Weiss, or now I'm going to follow John DeLong, or Pat Raines, or one of the, Padillas, or now it's like, I'm going to follow Justin. And that's not really the way to execute a good game plan. And I think a lot of guys still struggle with kind of figuring out how they can take their skill set, their strengths, and make that work for them in the race. But there's definitely some riders down there that have started to figure that out, I think. And I think it's the guys that, secret, Oscar has kind of broken that bubble and figured out how to just ride his race and clearly make it work. This year, I mean, obviously Jivin and Derek Chavarria, those two guys are,
few months outside.
those guys are having breakout years, right? And that's a big key, I think, right? Like, Derek went and did the Vuelta Independencia in the Dominican Republic, and I've helped coach countless Belizean guys over the years, and every one of them I've tried to hammer into them, like, that race in particular is a race you guys got to go do, right? It's at the end of February. It never really conflicted with many of the events down there. Like the Belmopan Classic was always later, Valentine's was always earlier, and it's obviously such a good race. It's a UCI rated race. It's 7 or 8 days. They get a lot of international competition. It's long stages, and it's different. It's different racing. It's dynamic racing, and different roads, different riders, and you're forced to adapt in a different way. And I think more of the Belizean guys need that. And so I think, when you start talking about, man, who's got the potential to win this year, and what's it look like, I mean, I think those three guys I mentioned, Oscar, Jivin, and Derek, they're the biggest hopes, I think, for Belizean guys. Carlton is always kind of flying under the radar. Obviously a couple of years ago, Popey pulled out a big ride. So there's always some guys that can kind of slip under the radar if circumstances go right. And on the foreigner side, I haven't really heard much. I don't know who's going.
There's so far there's no list of who's coming in.
I would guess that probably in another week or two that'll start to make a little noise. And I keep meaning to text DeLong. I assume he's going. I assume Pat Raines.
He had an accident too sometime this
He-
year too.
Yeah, he had an accident later last year,
Oh, okay.
and that's what stopped him from coming to New Year's to defend that race.
Yes.
But I haven't seen, usually I would see John not a fair bit, but a little bit over the winter. His family is from Pennsylvania, not too far from where I am. So we would end up connecting on some of the big group rides a few times in the winter around the holidays and whatever, but I didn't get out for as many of those this year. And so whether he was here or not, I don't even know. So I just haven't talked to him that much, but I would think he's coming. I think he's exactly 10 years younger than me. So 45, going to be 46. So he's still got,
He's got some more years left to go.
Yeah, he's got a few more years, and he can still legitimately battle for the win, but beyond those guys, I mean, I assume Justin, I assume Corey.
Like you said, I think Caruso wants to win one. He hasn't won one yet.
I would think. I know.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that that Justin maybe feels a little more rooted with Belize maybe than Corey does. Like in the race, maybe meant more to Justin, and that's fine. But I think look, Corey's Belizean,
Yeah.
and I think he wants to win that race because it's a
Yeah,
great
I real
it's a
yeah.
great win, right? It's a big win, and I think he would love to win that. So I have to suspect he's working hard to make that happen.
But Bill, how you felt? Because the year you won, you finished in the track. For the last few cross country, it finished out by BTP Park.
Right.
How, in the track, you think it was a better feel when you won?
A better finish, you mean? Better finish area?
Yeah, finish area. You had more with the people out there riding the track to complete your 4 laps.
I think that I liked the track finish. I thought, I mean, I probably like it maybe more from a sentimental point of view because that's where I did win it. But I think that track is a really cool
Yeah.
venue to utilize
Yes.
for the finish of the race. I think you can have obviously a lot of people in the bleachers.
Yeah.
Um, it's got a feeling of everybody knows Perry Roubaix, right?
Yeah.
That famous race that ends at the Roubaix Velodrome, and what an iconic finish that is. And it's kind of a pretty cool parallel to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that finish quite a bit, and I would love to see it go back there. And I mean, in part because it's such a great facility. Like, let's see
Yes.
that facility get utilized
Yeah.
more than it does.
It's
But
beautiful. I rode 2
the,
cross country, and that's my 2 years. That's a lot of years ago.
yeah,
But
yeah,
the,
it's
the track was beautiful to enter the track, and it was just
yeah,
nice. It was a nice feeling.
yeah. It was really cool. You could hear and see the crowd as because the
Yeah.
lead motos would get there just before the riders, so you could
Yeah.
kind of hear the emotion and the noise really build.
Yeah.
So it was definitely cool. But that said, I mean, I like the current finish down at the park. It's a
Yeah. The
it's a
park's
great
real. Yeah.
seaside park, seaside venue.
Yeah.
It's a really nice little pocket of the city there,
Yeah.
and I think it's a fun finish coming all the way in on the boulevard.
Yeah. Oh, Belton Bridge all the way down. Nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's fun, and the road's nice. There's obviously a lot of the speed bumps, the little
Yeah.
sleeping policemen to handle in the last bit of the race, which is tricky, but you figure it out. But I do like that finish, but I would love to see it back to the stadium. I would love it.
I'm still hoping that the CFB could bring you in and help coach some of the kids, the younger kids,
I'm
take them
I'm
to take them take them to another level, because coaching is big.
Yeah, I'm always open to the idea, and every year that I come down there, I try and connect with somebody who might be able to help facilitate that. And we,
Yeah,
we talk about it and talk about ideas of, having some clinics for a few days for the
yeah,
kids, and clinics for the coaches, right? Like, I mean,
the
I know there's
coaches.
there's some good coaches down there, right? Like, and I think some of those guys are doing a great job with some of the athletes. But one of the beauties of coaching is kind of shooting the breeze with your colleagues because you come up with different ideas,
Yeah,
right? Different ways to do things, or
yeah,
maybe the technology side is obviously taking over quite a bit, and I'm not Mr. Power Meter down to the fine details, but
yeah,
I have a good working knowledge on how to use it pretty well
yeah,
that I think helps out, and
yeah,
just you know it's good for coaches to kind of gather and talk ideas and stuff. And I think I could
yeah,
probably learn something. I think those coaches could probably learn something to take then to the younger Belizean
yeah.
athletes, and continue the growth down there.
And how about the team? Do these have we have at least from what I remember, like good 10 teams, different teams. Uh, right now, G Flow is one of the stronger team. In this race went Sunday, Anthony Marler team did they rode well.
Yeah, again, I didn't get to see that race, which is a bummer, but I saw that, remind me of the young man who won.
Uh,
His name's
what's his,
escaping me.
he's
Goran,
from
Gabriel.
Antonmala Team 1.
Yeah, Goran, Gabriel, right?
Gabriel won the race, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa, that's a great ride for him.
No, it was a
Kind of,
beautiful ride.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was,
Derek got flat. I think he had like 3 flats in that race.
oof,
And one of his last flat was right by the bridge, Balkan Bridge.
ah, jeez,
That race finished around Central American Boulevard.
right.
So, without the flat, I think he's had such a good chance to win that race too. But
Yeah,
Gabriel, he's riding good.
yeah, I like to see it. I like to see another name in the mix. And to be fair, I remember him from a few years ago, but I don't know that I really saw his name in a lot of results this year. So, his name wasn't really at the front of my head,
Yeah,
but I was like,
last few
oh,
races he ride pretty good. But one thing I noticed with him, Bill, he pushed a lot of heavy gas. You think that's some good, or he needs to work with lighter gear, or
I mean, I would probably have to see it
yeah,
to really get a good feel of how heavy of a gear he's pushing. I mean, I think the easiest answer to that is probably twofold. Is like you should be spinning a little bit more than pushing the
yeah,
gears because it's going to save your legs.
yeah,
But you should also be able to do both of those.
yeah.
To be able to kind of go back and forth
Yeah,
throughout a
yeah.
race.
That's always
Um,
thought. That's what I'm used to. You you kind of change up, but sometimes I notice like in the hills too, he's on a pretty heavy gas.
Bike Chat, Oswald Bowman and family present the Pre-Cross Country Meet and Greet Family Sunday.
Let's get it crunk up on that fun.
And it's all going down Sunday, April 13th at the Bird's Isle from 4 p.m. until. Meet your favorite cyclists. Live entertainment from the Super Furia Band. Along with Doggy King.
She come to tell me. She say me say she say.
And musical niceness from Mr. Frisco and Big Ford. There's gonna be a kid section with Bouncy Castle and more. Plenty of giveaways throughout the day. Bring out the entire family. Call 611-8294 for food vendor stall availability. Tickets available at the Angeles Press. This event is sponsored by Darius Meat Pies, Cellular World, Marie Sharp Fine Foods, Western Dairies, La Popular Bakery, and Travelers Liquors. Sunday, April 13th, a Pre-Cross Country Meet and Greet Family Sunday at the Bird's Isle, starting at 4 p.m. Don't miss it.
I mean,
Yeah, that's a tough one. It'll wear your legs out faster, but
Yeah.
to your question about the teams down there, there are a lot of good teams, and I like seeing a lot of teams. Some of them maybe are a little smaller.
yeah,
Like West Track seems like it's a little smaller than it used to be. Anthony Mailer's squad seems maybe
Yeah.
a little bit smaller than
yeah.
it used to
They
be.
got a couple more. They add Antonmala team add a couple more guys now. I think they team up to at least 7, 8 guys now. There's one of the smaller team now. It's Santino's.
Yeah. I'm glad he still has a team. I see Josyln popping on
Yeah,
there.
JR is
Yeah,
on
yeah.
there. Yeah,
So I'm glad to see that
He's-
Santino's
yeah.
still helping some guys out. And I think, to me, the biggest thing with the teams down there, and this kind of goes hand in hand with what we were talking about a few minutes ago, of the way the tactical approach a lot of the riders, especially
Yeah.
the Belizeans, have, is I think there's a lot of scenarios where I see that there could be better teamwork.
Yeah.
And it's a challenging, teamwork is a challenging thing that I totally understand, because to completely work for some other rider, obviously you're now hindering your own chances to do well. And look, this race is more important to those guys than the national championships down there. Right or wrong, it's a bigger race than that. And so everybody has that dream of wanting to win or do as well as they can.
Yeah.
And so that becomes challenging to work with when like you've got a guy on the team who can maybe win that race if he's got good team support of guys willing to chase the breaks, of guys willing to be the one to go back to the car and get the bottles. But it's a hard one.
How could they come together to like and a team to understand that? Because when you watch your pros over here, you see that they ride for their leader.
Yeah.
And they understand, but sometimes in Belize, it seems like they're still fighting to get to that stage. That who's the leader? This person who we're gonna be riding for.
Yeah, I mean, I think my interpretation of that, and it's kind of across the board with bike racing sometimes, especially when, in this climate, certainly in the US where there's less races, there's less teams, so there's less piece of the pie for each rider to get. And so guys start to kind of put the blinders on and think more about themselves to get whatever that little piece of the pie is.
Yeah.
And I again, like I understand that to a degree, but I think, again, part of my role as a coach with athletes is I want to help them do as well as I can, but I also, the unfortunate part of my job is I have to reality check people. And I have to say, look, you're only X good. You may never be good enough to win this race, but you could be good enough to help somebody else win this race.
Win the race, yeah.
And I think some guys, they either need that reality check or they need to embrace that, like, that's the beauty of being on a team. It doesn't matter if you win or your teammate wins, everybody wins if somebody on the team wins.
Yeah, that's what I'm used to. Yeah, that's what I'm used to.
And I think there's a few teams down there that could certainly think about that a little bit and work on their tactics based on that, and potentially have guys fighting for the win, instead of.
Like some of the teams doing Belize, like this race we're gonna ride for this one. Next race we're riding for this one.
Right.
And sometimes I feel like instead of have one leader, if your leader is not somehow have an accident, then we're riding for this, the second guy in the team.
Right.
But
yeah, I mean,
every race they're riding seems like they're riding for a different person in the team.
Which, I mean, I think that's good too, because everybody gets a taste of success. Everybody, it's like when you go to some of the most successful corporations, in the business world are based on people that they started in the mailroom and they worked their way up. They worked in every different role in the job, in the company, to figure out how to best do that role.
Yeah.
And I think that applies to bike racing, is like, even a leader should be forced to be the guy to go back and get the bottles and work for other guys sometimes, because you need to know that, like, that's actually a really hard job, going back to the car, bringing 6, 8, 10 bottles up to your guys, and stuff like that, or pacing a guy back after a flat. That stuff's hard.
No,
and
that
so,
is hard. Yeah, that is hard.
everybody needs to understand that all those roles are challenging, but they're all part of the greater goal.
Yeah. All right, man. Thanks.
Yeah.
Josyln, are you there? I think Josyln Jr. joined us just now, Bill.
Yeah, man. Unmute that thing, kid. Come on, man.
Josyln, are you there? I think his thing is mute.
Yeah, yes, sir. Good night, everybody.
JR, we have Bill with us.
Good night, Mr. Bill.
What's up, buddy? How are you, man?
I'm good, sir. I'm good. Right here.
Yeah, man. You're riding well. Been looking good down there.
Yes, sir. So far, yeah, I could say I'm close to my what we would call a peaking block. So
Good.
I'm just trying to test more or less how I am, and probably get some couple of confidence for the big one.
Right on, man. Right on. You got your 6-hour rides under your belt?
Yes, sir.
Ah, that a boy. Nah, you had a good ride. Was it last year? You did pretty well last year, right?
Yes, you came sixth.
Yes, sir. I
Yeah.
came
Yeah, so you can be in the mix, man, and that little mental motivation, that's a big piece of the puzzle now.
Yes, yes, sir. That's definitely what actually boosts my morale to push even harder this year. Train a little more different than last year, with more support given, and I feel much more different than the year before.
Good.
So I mean, the training probably, because it's a lot of my training. I don't really have a coach, but it just comes with the experience, and I try to do my research almost every week. You know, sometimes you learn something every day.
Hmm.
So I'm up to almost to the standard to the guys that have the power meter. I don't have one, so I just have to use my heart rate. So I train most of my rides with a heart rate. So that's how that helps more or less to the level the other guys train. You know, everybody have their power meter, and that's the difference.
Yeah,
You know.
no, that's good. And I don't know if you were on earlier and listening. Um, I was telling Oswald, man, like obviously I have a power meter and whatever, but like all my training is primarily based on time
Heart
and
rate.
heart rate. And I
Yeah.
look at the power files when I download it at the end of a ride, but like I literally never look at my power meter when I'm out riding. It's just on heart rate because that's the ultimate determiner of how hard you're going to be able to go, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that's good. That's good. You've got a good history of using that. That's helpful.
So Bill, when on Chav, when cross country starts, is is it good to stay up front, or you try to move up front when you hit like in the 40s, or in the start of the race you try to stay up front or go with early breaks or hold back until later?
Well, I would say with the time from now and build time, it changes a lot in it as it pertains to like what he was saying earlier with teams and me being a solo rider almost last year. I was like basically a solo rider, so I had to ride like very attentive at the front because I basically don't have anyone to support or help me in any way, and I just had to race based on the teams that is catching the break. And what I did, I try to ride off the, like if I would see the boss of Miami Blazers or Legion going down the road, I should go with that because that's the boss or the go-to guy. You know, them either
Yeah.
Justin or Corey. You know, why not go with them? Because the other guys at the back won't chase because the boss is at the front. That's how I use it.
Yeah.
And then they have another scenario as the other foreigners that would be from the other teams if they're in the break. I mean, why not be there? Because there at least one guy from each team in the breaks. So I have to be very attentive whenever certain teams from certain guys. I try my best not to follow the legions because I ride so many cross country, and most of the time you do go with Belizeans. They don't want to either work or go with you. They always want to save, or they
Yeah.
want you to take them to the line. And I learned that over the years. I prefer go with foreigner riders than my own Belizean. 'Cause a lot of the guys they prefer just hold back, and sometimes you just gotta make up your mind to
Yeah.
go and try to establish a gap, and then from there you ride for ego in the last mile or 2 or kilometer. But most of the time you want to try to separate yourself from early from the other guys, because if you to save while you to try to get away from the guys, then that don't make no sense because they
Yeah.
will catch your back. You have to
It's
make up your mind.
yeah, it's like in a way, some of the Belize guys are so kind of right scared. They don't want to leave
Some
everything
of
out
them,
there.
some of them, but you don't know some of you don't want to really go with the guys then will know that is better than you, because sometimes that's how I try to farm my circle. Sometimes I try my best to not go with the top guys or no watch the top guys, because why go with them if I know they could beat me?
Yeah.
So if I could isolate myself from them with some of the guys where I might stand a chance, why make your opportunity much easier than if you go with the guys who know could beat you. Why, you know? So you have to, yeah, it's a lot of give and takes, and how you race. If I know a guy like Derek, like let's say he in a different team or Oscar, I won't go all in and say, boy, well, yes, it's good to go with them, but then I might go really early, but scenario is that let's say I catch a break with them and I know they could beat me, and if I had to think for win, I want to try my best to try either reshuffle it or so I have to like really pay attention on who I'm taking or who I'm going with. So like there were a lot of little things that I probably build with I could second it, and that just basically you just have, if you want to win, if you think about win, you have to choose the guys you want to go with, and certain guys who you could beat, or certain guys who could work with you along the way, and then you just have to be more smarter. But you don't want to carry too much guys who you know that you're not you fear or lesser chance of winning. That's how I think. Some people think differently, but um that's how I race sometimes. But if I get in a scenarios that I know that I have to take them, then I just want to take the chances if I know that just one or two of us, because if there's just two of us or three of us, I know I guaranteed podium, So sometimes you just have to go with the flow of how the race they go. Sometimes you're not going in your favor, but if you do go in your favor, that time you should capitalize on it and try work as hard to establish a gap, and it just fall in your favor, 'cause that's just part of racing. Like for example, the race Sunday, everybody know that Derek fronted I'm the strongest, but second he had a mechanical failure in the last um go around when me the front there. He don't stand a chance for the podium, but since Derek got mechanical, that just fall in his favor.
Yeah.
So that's how we go. That just part of racing. So like that our good
So,
scenario for being
yeah.
able to do.
So, Bill, so when you go from early, says a couple of guys decide, and I saw that a couple of guys decide to go from Hattieville. Would you run with them, or you'll wait, or it depends on who running from Hattieville?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends who it is, right?
Yeah.
So, a lot of, I mean, Josyln hit a lot of nails right on the head there. Excuse me. You know, like Josyln last year, I've basically ride that race by myself. So you have to be kind of hyper aware of what's going on, and who are the ones to watch, and my method was always like, look, I got to take the free ride where I can. Like I don't want to have to work any harder than I need to.
Yeah.
So if I, depending on who's going to go up the road, right? Like if it's, if it's a couple of guys that haven't been getting results and they're just chasing preems, I'm not gonna worry about them, right? But if guys like Justin move or whatever, I'm gonna try and go up the road, and part of that also is the idea of molding that race to ride to my skill set, right? And my skill set is I can ride it 85 or 90% literally for the entire 6 hours. So I could do that from the drop of the flag and whatever. What I can't do really well is like, I'm not gonna like, this is twofold. Like I can do hard 3 and 5 minute efforts to cross a gap if I need to,
Yeah.
but I can't do that as well as I can just sit at like 90% for a really long time. So if I can do that for a longer time, I'd rather be out there early if that's the case.
Yeah.
The flip side too is like, I know, like, am I gonna follow Justin on an attack? I am not,
Yeah.
because his acceleration is way faster than mine, right? Like I'm actually not a bad sprinter, but he can accelerate really, really fast. He's such a good sprinter that, like, okay, me trying to follow that isn't going to go well.
Yeah.
So I need to find the next strongest guy who maybe doesn't have that jump,
That
right?
fast, you say.
Right, and that's where, like in the past, it's like, okay, I'll follow DeLong, I'll follow Pat Raines, or I'll follow, Oscar's pretty fast, but not quite Justin fast.
Yeah.
So if I follow guys like that, they're like, I know I can hang on the acceleration, and then kind of get in the groove. But so much is predicated on paying attention to who's going up the road.
Who's beefing?
The last time I got, when I was fifth and sixth, whatever it is, like 8 years ago, like when I alluded to, like, okay, I know one of the Padillas is up the road, I know Brandon's up the road, and I know Borland's up the road. And I'm like, I have to get across to this group.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't care who I took,
Yeah.
I just have to get across. And so, I went across. I ended up taking the other Padilla across, as well as, I can't remember the other guy's name now, who was in the mix at the end. But, I knew I had to get across before it was too late. And, if that's a longer day out there in the sun, that's better for me because, I know Josyln knows this from experience. Like the initiating the breakaway in the first 3 miles or 5 miles, that's really hard.
Yeah.
But after that, it settles down, and
settle
it's like hard training pace,
Yeah.
right? And for me, that's what I'm all about, all day long, every day. And so, like, that's the scenario for me. And so, however I can shape that scenario, I'm going to do it. But I'm going to pay attention to the guys that are threats. Like, I'm not going to follow, and I'm not going to sit here and drop names. But there's plenty of riders that Josyln that knows that, like, look, they're not bad bike racers for a 2-hour race or a 3-hour race, but for a 6-hour race, they're not going to be the guy that's going to make it. So, like, I'm not going to use my energy to follow that move because it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Like
have a couple guys that took off from start to finish in a couple cross country drafts. I know Kendrick was one.
For example, like what Mr. Bill made said earlier, Justin Williams accelerate hard. That same Luis Lopez, the same thing. He very so strong and he can accelerate very hard. I won't follow that wheel, but I would follow the second man that would be strong enough to probably go across to him and help her. Like for example, when Abner Maxwell went, I went with Abner and I did almost the same as Abner to reach across to Luis Lopez, and that's how we get there.
Yeah.
So that's some of the keynotes that Mr. Bill was saying. I know I'm not strong as them guys, so I have to ride within my limit, but at the same time know myself because I know why I going to follow that there and he broke my legs down the road. I mean, if I could use other guys who are strong enough to reach there, but they're not that fast, but I could move with them, then I don't mind move with them and then help them and then we work together. That's the how we get across. And then
Yeah.
I also do it to another team player for our next team. So John DeLang and the rest of guy now work about they say, all right, we left that
Yeah.
because we have another front there. So that kind of take out a few of the stronger guys then out there in game because I said, well, we don't have a team on the front. And that's the how I made it watch how last year I went.
Yeah.
I had to watch all the teams then, and I said, all right, at least the American in the front there. So I know that team now will chase the back there. So that one help me a lot for not have to worry. All I just need to be there, just be present the frontier. Just be present that if the stronger guys then do reach across, because the only then they go. So that
I
that's
remember
what I mean to do.
the 1 year I got fifth when I went across that break with
Nissan.
Brandon and whatever. I remember Brandon later in the race. Brandon was
Yeah, you have to tell him to unmute.
Brandon was kind of yelling at me because I was pulling pretty hard with the Padilla guys.
Bike Chat, Oswald Bowman and family present the Pre-Cross Country Meet and Greet Family Sunday.
Let's get it crunk up on that fun up.
And it's all going down Sunday, April 13th at the Bird's Isle from 4 p.m. until...
Baby, Mr. Rock and come in.
Meet your favorite cyclists. Live entertainment from the Super Furia Band. Along with Doggy King.
She come to tell me. She say me, say she say.
And musical niceness from Mr. Frisco and Bigger Ford. There's gonna be a kids section with Bouncy Castle and more. Plenty of giveaways throughout the day. Bring out the entire family. Call 611-8294 for food vendor stall availability. Tickets available at the Angelus Press. This event is sponsored by Darius Meat Pies, Cellular World, Marie Sharp Fine Foods, Western Dairies, La Popular Bakery, and Travelers Liquors. Sunday, April 13th, a pre-cross country meet and greet family Sunday at the Bird's Isle, starting at 4 p.m. Don't miss it.
I can't make him unmute. You have to tell me.
And I was like, look, this is my only move, right? Like I have to make this break work. So I was willing to pull as hard or harder than the strongest guys in there because I needed that break to work. And I figured like I'll deal with them or not when we get closer to the finish. But at least now I'm in a position to win now versus like if I don't work, I'm not going to be in a position to win.
So, your cross country, the one you won, was it a sprint finish?
So when we came into the stadium, it was three of us coming into the stadium. It was myself, Chris Harkey, who had won 2 years in a row prior, and one of my teammates, Aeneas Frere. So the three of us came into the stadium together. But there was, I think Chris realized he had his back against the wall with two guys on the same team. So he kind of stopped pulling much, and then a small group started to catch us.
Oh, wow.
But it was only a couple of guys. It was like five guys were kind of starting to roll up on us literally on the last half lap. It was another one of my teammates, Anthony Taylor, was in that group.
Anthony Taylor,
Big Mike Lewis was in the group too.
I remember I was in that peloton too.
Yeah. Leslie was in that group as well. I think he was top 10 that year. And so it like as we came around the last turn on the track, it was in theory it was like 5 or 6 of us together, and I just as soon as those guys caught us into the last turn, I just went early on the sprint.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's amazing. Anthony Taylor, some days I meet him in Prospect Park.
Yeah. I keep meaning I gotta give him a shout, and I haven't caught up with him for a while, but he was the guy that started this all, man. For me, he was the guy who. I'd known Taylor for a long time, and he called me up in December of 2004, and was like, "Hey, I'm putting together a team of 3 guys to go down and do this race in Belize. Do you want to go?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'll go." And so it was he, myself, and Aeneas Frere, a guy from Connecticut, and and then the owner of the team, Alvin Card. And I won. Aeneas was 3rd, and Taylor was 5th. So we made a lot of coin, made a lot of money.
Oh, that's nice, man. He came a second to Taylor.
Yeah, Taylor's he got the year 2 years after I won. Boyd Johnson, another American guy, won, and Taylor got second.
Got second.
Yeah, he's had some good rides there, but he was the guy that unlocked the door for me for that race.
He's still every now and again I run into him. I call it what a change. He goes 6 o'clock in Prospect. He's right in there.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He's a great guy. Great guy.
And so we had Leslie there. Leslie, I think are you? How you doing?
Yeah. Good night, guys. I'm just here. I mean, I'm glad to be in this chat tonight, and I know that Coach Ellingston, yes, while he won his cross country, I was indeed in that peloton, and I was looking
Oh
forward
yeah.
to, sometimes like you're looking forward to have the game change, and it was like just on the end when Bill break out and continued that sprint. I think that year Michael Lewis came in second or something that year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And it was like, sometimes Big Mike is still like running some jokes with me and telling me that I could have did better, but I was too slow in the track, and he was the faster guy. And so it cross country, while it boils down to experience, it's a little luck. Sometimes you have to have that luck. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
just not your day, and there's
So what
boils
place
down
you
to luck.
finished?
I
I was
think he was
eighth.
seventh, right? Seventh or
I
eighth?
was eighth. I was
Oh
eighth.
man, nice. But you got a top 10, man. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and I was the third Belizean because that year, it was a lot of foreigners. About 40 foreigners lined up that year.
Oh yeah,
I
wow.
think that's a history when it comes to cross country with the amount of foreign participants.
Yeah.
We had 40 foreigners. There was the Mexican, the Colombians, the Americans. Man, it was a lot. Bill could tell you that was a hell of a race. So
Nice.
kudos to Bill on that victory.
So it's funny,
Wasn't an easy race.
Leslie. I don't know if you remember this, but when I flew down there, Taylor got in a few days before me, but I flew in the Monday before the race, and we stayed in the city with Miss Yvonne, right? Yvonne Robinson.
Yeah.
So I stayed at her place, that year, and went back, got the bike put together, and went out for, Taylor took me over to the stadium Monday night just so I could ride for an hour, just whatever. Leslie was literally the first Belizean guy I met because he was out there riding the track that
Yeah,
night,
yeah, yeah.
and he was
Oh
the
man, that's amazing.
first Belizean dude I met. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool.
Right at the track.
I actually came in eighth the second time in a row because the previous year before that I was eighth. So it was like I was stuck on the number 8, in the cross
Oh
country.
man.
I did 2 top 10, and the second time I came in 8th, I was like literally counting the guys in front of me, and man, I was 8th again.
Oh,
That's
that's amazing.
consistent, man. Consistency is good.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you got 2 top 10, man. That's great.
yeah,
Top 10
yeah.
is hard.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
No, top 10 is hard.
It's difficult.
That's
You know.
amazing, Bill. That's amazing.
But
That's
now I'm behind the scenes. I was when I was working with a phone company, Smart. I was like managing the guys, and currently I'm working at the Belize Tourism Board, and I work closely with the Minister, Honorable Anthony Mahler, and he has the passion for cycling. There's a lot in store for cycling, and I know that the development of the sport will become enormous, right? I'm kudos to cycling and the federation. I see a lot of development happen there as opposed to other disciplines like football. We just recently had a major loss on the international game. While now we have like Baby Chav, and we have these younger cyclists coming up, and they're really representing us well. Getting medals and being on the podium internationally. It's an honor and a privilege now to experience here in Belize. We will be hosting the first time the Caribbean U23 championship. That's big for the country. So while working at the Belize Tourism Board, we're enhancing the tourism product. It's all about we getting Belize out there on the map to sports, and not only having Belize recognized as a country in the Caribbean, but as a competitive country as well. So kudos to the federation, and I'm looking forward to the big news for cycling and sports in Belize.
But listen, maybe if, like CFP or Minister Marla bringing a guy like Bill to he's a coach, and that not only to coach the cyclists but to coach the coaches.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great too.
Yeah, sure. I know Bill is a professional coach now.
Yeah.
He have a track record of really coaching a lot of the young guys, and it's needed because I myself I had the opportunity to speak with Bill. He's hell of a cool guy. I had been battling like some personal ailments, and He was there supporting me, sent me
Yeah.
that jersey. You know, I still have that jersey, Bill. I need to start rock that jersey and go
Yeah,
back
man,
on
you
the
got to
road.
get it out.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't realize you guys knew each other from way back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Bill, man, Bill, I hadn't been catching up with him. So I'm privileged tonight to be experiencing him. I mean, Bill, you still look like Bill. I don't know
Yeah.
how you do it. I mean,
You can't see all the gray hair from here, man. That's the problem. Trust me, it's gray.
He's
you
not
look
coming in.
looking
Let's
shape,
say
man.
he's not
Like
coming in this year.
you're ready for the cross country this year. Let me see that tan.
I
Yeah,
wish, man. I
that's what's up.
wish. There's nothing tan here, man.
Yeah, but I mean, it's always good to still be behind the scenes in the sport of cycling. You
Yes, it's
know, I
beautiful.
was one spell managing the smart cycling team. You know, now I'm behind the scene. I'm at the Belize Tourism Board. I'm the sports tourism officer. So I do have like the sports tourism strategy on my desk. And, you know, Minister Mahler always like one of my objective is to eventually have a UTI sanctioned race in Belize.
Yeah.
And know that we are partnering and we're going to be hosting the Caribbean Championship. This is definitely an opportune time for us. And definitely I'm looking forward, Bill. You know, I could speak with the minister and we could maybe open a sporting camp or something.
Yeah.
You know, there's a
Yeah.
lot of ways to connect it. I mean, IoT is the new norm now. You know, it's all about the Internet of Things, right? Let
Yeah.
us see what we could put together. You know, I know that the minister had just took office and
Yeah.
definitely with the
That was a good pick.
yeah. I remember like for me, you know, yes, while I'm like it was many moons ago I was in the sports of cycling, but I could remember that we had a Cuban coach when I was like in high school, Coach Eddie, and he used to go out every morning and you know he produced guys like Marlon Castillo and some great guys, Keith Enright, and some guys while I was riding back then, and we had like very good foundation, you know, because when it comes to coaching, especially at the primary level, it's very good to have a good base and to
Yeah.
have knowledge
Yeah.
of what
Yeah.
you're doing,
Yeah.
right? So good.
Yeah. So it is going to go much further. I know Minister Mala is going to do the right thing, and I know you have a lot. He's in charge of all the sports, so I think it's going to be great.
But I know he have a big passion for cycling, man.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
this
he have the
weekend,
team. His team just did well too Sunday.
yeah. We had for the first time they built a stage, that ramp that Erdonis was like advertising and having the guys go on the ramp before the race that hold certain jerseys and past champions and acknowledging them because
Yeah.
you know in the sport of cycling it has a lot to do with our spiritual connection in the sport. You know, we all have a spirit, man. You know,
Well,
and I know
that's why January 4th I did the Living Legend thing. It
yeah.
was great.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. You
It was
know, and
beautiful.
it's a part of motivation. You know, because I mean, man, I know all those legends up to now. They enjoy like having that Hall of Fame and that moment of attention and you know like getting
No, it
your
was
spirit
beautiful.
boosted.
They
So
loved it, and I'd
yeah,
invite
I
Bill
used to
too.
love it. I mean, man, shit. I used to have my fans, despite the fact that I didn't want to cross country, but I used to have my supporters, my friends that was out there supporting me all the while. And you know, my mother, I remember getting ready for the cross country. I was on the road coming in. My mother heard my name on the radio, and she was in the shower getting a bath, and she jumped on her bicycle and pedaled on the boulevard. She was like right there while I was taking my interview when I was falling short of words, giving me the word to say and speak.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
That's
about our
great, man.
spirit.
Are
You know?
you going to do another one of those galas this winter?
Yeah, April 13th, I'm doing a meet and greet at Berza.
Are you going to do another like
Yes.
January?
Yeah, I'm gonna do like for 10 years.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That one was from 28 to 80.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try and catch from 81 to like 90.
Okay.
But it was beautiful, Bill.
Yeah, nice. I if I can Yeah, if you're going to do it, I was mentioning it to the wife a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Try and make it down that way.
I know I get to hooked up with Leslie. I could, sports counselor and I
Yeah,
mean BTB and the CFB could, they could join up and we all do it together.
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah, sure,
right on,
definitely.
man.
I did the first one. I didn't make a profit.
Nah, whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I beat them now. I got
yeah,
some sponsors, but not no big sponsors.
yeah.
I mean, everything that you start, sometimes you might not make a profit now, but in the future,
Right,
it started from small and eventually
Yeah.
we reached there, right? But
Yeah,
I didn't.
that was tough. Guys, midway, guys. I kind of asked myself if I was doing the right thing, but I already connected with Hutchison. I connected with the McGill brothers. So I just you know continue to push it through.
nice, man.
They always say like in Belize we have a little folklore that goes by. No wait till the man dead for tell him he good. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what
There you
Kendrick
go.
said. Kendrick says, "Look, man, he appreciated so much, and he don't want when he's dead. Then,
yeah,
he doing this for me now while I'm alive." So
That's right.
he was
that.
very
I
happy
like
for
that
it.
Sanchez. I like that. I like that. That's true.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
yeah,
so
Yeah.
and this one I'm doing on the 13 guys. I'm hoping that a lot of cyclists show up. You know, I'm giving them they're getting some pasta, free dinner, and they come on and meet their fans. I mean, a lot of the time the fans they see
yeah.
them they're on their bicycle. So at first I didn't get the opportunity. I actually come and meet them and hang out with the fans. It's going to be a great event.
It's good
What
stuff,
what
man.
what I wanted to big up Bill as well, man. I saw Bill was a commentator for Nationals when Quinn Simmons won. So I
Yeah,
have a big up Bill for that, man.
Oh
That
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah, Bill, yeah.
that was. Yeah, it was good.
yeah, that was
Thanks,
a
man.
cool one as well. To
Yeah,
see
it was
those
fun
pros,
times.
yeah, those pros come and do those races. I mean, that was a beautiful one.
Yeah, it was a good race. That was a lot of fun down there. Good times, baby. Good times.
Yeah, so
But
Bill, man, we hoping to see you with Leslie. We got Leslie here with us now, so it's with BTB and
yeah, dude, I'm
with
open to
Minister
any of
Wallow.
that. So
Maybe we could
let's
get
yeah, let's we can if you guys want to like put together another call at some point and talk about some ideas and whatever. Like I'm always happy to be as involved as I can be, and do what I can and share the wealth. But
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah, keep me posted for sure on that stuff. In the meantime, I got to jump. It's my bedtime, man. It's 9:30 here. My 55-year-old self is tired. Well, that's what happens when you get old, boys. Don't let it happen.
Yeah.
But
All right, Bill.
yeah,
Thanks for coming on, Bill.
yeah,
Appreciate
it's
it.
my pleasure. It's good to
Thank you, Bill,
Jocelyn.
and
Good to
Yeah.
see you, and great to see you, Leslie.
Yeah,
nice
thanks.
seeing you again, Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Go and get that rest and continue to stay looking young.
I'm trying, brother. I'm trying.
All
All right,
right,
All
thanks,
right,
Bill.
guys. We'll talk to you all again soon.
Appreciate it.
You bet.
sure. Yeah.
Thanks. So let's say how was we had a great race Sunday, man. It was a beautiful race.
Yeah.
Chav was no joke in that race, Chav.
That was
Yeah.
one of the best races I ever ride because they for all my years or my career, I never could say that they may have a race so big. Aside from what the Digicel 4G used to have, because we used to have some races similar to the prize, but this race they really show that the whole want acknowledge the riders, that the whole want the guys they come out because I'm like how all I don't know who all put together, but that them a well organized event. So I really had to say kudos to the Belize Tourism Board, the Federation, everybody where they behind the scenes,
Yeah.
that them really, really, really big
Yeah.
and sensitive thing.
It was like
And
that's
definitely,
like to me like
definitely that
was
event, mine actually put my energy energy into, because they have races you have to pick within your year. As a cyclist, you can't win all, or you can't do good in all, but that are definitely a race I would want to push for, because that the prize alone, not only
Yeah.
the prize, the energy, everybody just, because our race where everybody want to do good, because that was good event. If you just come in 10th place, you still feel good.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, man, that was like the closest race to like cross country. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
It was
definitely,
like
most definitely,
it's a real cool preparation race for cross country.
definitely. And
Yeah.
I
I
know
mean,
it will be better, because that definitely one event they will push first. So I know all the cyclists
I
in
think
the
that's gonna be
country.
around for a while.
Yeah.
So let's say what's the minister plan? I mean, for the team now, you have a great team now. You have a beautiful team.
well, while I don't really like, I'm not involved with the management of the team directly per
Yeah,
se, but what I know for a fact is that the minister have a huge heart for cycling. He loves cycling, and
yeah,
I mean, I watched like there's previous races that we had sponsored, and it's like good prizes. Like he always try to give good prizes because he at one point when we had the smart cycling team, he used to go out on the road and he get to discover like how grueling cycling is, like
yeah,
the discipline, the dedication
yeah.
that is
It's no
required,
joke.
and that's like one of the driving force behind him that allows him to go big on prizes, because
Yeah,
he believed that it's a sport that is well deserving of being
yeah.
rewarded well. And I could recall like previously we had the Anthony Mala race, but before this one, just before I think the current New Year's Classic,
Yeah,
like a pre New Year's Classic that he
yeah,
had, and we gave some good prizes. And while he was out there giving out the prizes, immediately he saw it fit to increase and boost up some of the prizes. And he was like, Leslie, hey, ensure that these guys get more money than this, because this is deserving of more money. And like for the females, everybody like got a little boost in their prizes, even good. So there's a lot in store and I'm pretty sure that you guys are going to be well off now. And I'm looking forward for sports in a whole, in general, whether it is cycling, is football.
yeah,
I want, like, I keep on telling my colleagues that while I had the opportunity to go to Cartagena, Colombia in 2005, I believe, when I came in eighth, we went out there and you had countries like the British Virgin Island. While British Virgin Island is a country that is blessed with a lot of resources and wealth, they had like all the gears together. The
yeah,
jerseys like was like together. They were like well uniform and put together. Like all of them
yeah,
had like these same felt bikes that was well expensive, and we were like
yeah,
astonished, and we were like, wow, this team it looks very
yeah,
good. And when the race started, these guys came in like last. There wasn't like very good competitively,
yeah,
but they were well represented. And I think that is what we need, because sometimes we go on these exposures, and it's like we're not used to our teammate, and I'm talking for sports in a whole, right?
yeah,
The athletes, they're not too happy. You have to be worrying about the bills that you have occurring while you're out there on the road. Sometimes you don't, some of these cyclists, they don't even know what they'll eat tomorrow. Like you
yeah,
have to be working so hard, so, and the minister is quite cognizant of that.
yeah,
I remember when we had the smart cycling team, he used to have me go and get nutrients for the guys, have them go to the gym. These guys were well taken care of, right?
yeah,
So I'm going to tell you guys that you guys have a good minister now, and the sports of cycling and sports in a whole, it's good. I'm privileged to have been working with him, and I'm looking forward to continue working with my boss more, and
yeah.
to have the development of sports in Belize reach to another level.
One of the things I like for them to bring back, I don't know if you remember Josyln Chavarria and Leslie, in a couple
Track
of class.
races.
One of the things that for the guys would be good for them is like bring back giving them like a piece of land so they could have, eventually they could start a starter home. I know they did that in a couple cross country back then.
No,
But
but
if it,
for answer that to Mr. Oz last year, I say if I believe and win them, I give a land anywhere where they want, where they could pick where available. And also they may actually mention that they will give us one of the least starter home. So that may a good incentive if a believe and win. So that's something good too.
yeah,
If
I
keep
think
us
they
again.
could. That's some great, man, because you know, after
I
five,
believe
ten
in
years, a
yeah, but
cyclist career is kind of over,
one of the incentives. Yeah, that I'm one of the incentive if I believe and win. So that's a very good thing. And I
Yeah,
mean,
I
like
think
what
that would be one of the best prize.
like what Mr. Leslie said, uh, um, like he very cognizant away the like what he say, all the way have to out there to push with body so hard and sometimes you don't know what you might eat tomorrow and you
Right,
have to
right.
basically
It is
go
real.
a second job.
Yeah,
Like like
We're
in
living in
my
a
case,
real world.
yeah,
I have to
Right.
really big up my job because my job, the Belize Coast Guard, and they actually support sports, and
Mm-hmm.
they give us the time for actually train for the cross country, at least seasonal. So I mean, I have to really give them that thanks, because and the support when they give six of us the time as athletes,
yeah,
myself, Giovanni Lovell, James Alford, Darren Anderson, Nishan Isigiri, and Greg Lovell.
yeah,
And it really nice to have at least six more riders in the peloton. So that really good that they have some jobs that do exist in the Belize where support sports,
Yeah.
and I have to give kudos to the Belize Coast Guard once again.
Yeah.
yeah,
Thanks to them, because without them, I never may have the opportunity for really the out there for show my performance and show my capabilities and for try see if we could keep the roses and the garland home. That
and
will be
I
something.
definitely think I believe them is gonna win this year.
Yeah.
I think
You
we
know, you know,
riding,
you know the crazy
raise the
thing, right?
level, riding pretty good.
Like the crazy thing, like a lot of Belizeans go out there and look forward for a Belizean to win the cross country and talk about nationality, but we don't have a national team as yet,
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure that, and my word, I know the minister. I believe that maybe not this year because it's early, but
certainly.
next year and onward, we will be having a full-fledged national team. And a national team means for the minister, and I know his ego and his passion and his in terms of his development, he will have national teams that whereby you will be that's your job, right? And that's what I'm always looking for,
Yeah,
similar to what Josyln is saying, right? Like the Coast Guard do have like you guys
yeah,
well taken care of, but you guys are on different teams, right? While a national team, you'll be a team, so you'll be grouped together, you'll
yeah,
be, having everything like a full-fledged job,
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
with
that's
of course
a
with the
very good
discipline.
thing. That's a very good initiative. I mean, you have to start from the bottom to say, all right, start one development program. Then from there, we could select if we start on national team, we have to select the guys there, especially the guys there where we done the part teams, and then you tell them, right, this is the way we they pledge for giving up. This is the way we want to farm one team, and we plan for also develop sending in some of them big races like the Tour of Colombia, maybe
Yeah,
even go to Belgium,
yeah,
get some exposure where you are never could get. That
yeah,
is next level, because if you
Yeah,
want develop anybody, you have to put them out there for make them see what racing is all
yeah,
about. Because that the only way you come back and say, man, the level down are just different. 'Cause like last year when I ride the Tour of Guatemala, the experience, I said, man, I still learn more. I still
yeah,
learn because when I got out there, the racing just far way different than yeah. You see, like everybody to fight for back door, I believe. Everybody to fight Yana for the front door.
yeah,
Because when you position yourself, you stand a better chance in podium, but up there, so then the fight. literally have to, that like the racing just different. And then I may get the chance to meet Luis Lopez and the second place runner up last year. Cause he may win that race too. Hula hoop.
Well, hope.
Yeah, hula hoop. So that time like I would say I'm basically done the race with them before I race with them for cross country, and I could have actually there with them for cross country because I'm there at sea level while I'm there in for their backyard where I'm elevation. I'm there in elevation 7 to 8,000 feet. And I'm used to that up there. Every
Yeah.
day I get up in the morning, my head they hurt, my little bit of blood there underneath my nose, my nostrils, because the elevation different. But when you
Yeah.
race and train over there, you just come back with a different tank, so
Yeah.
you do get stronger when you do come back, and like like where also when Mr. Leslie mentioned to the nutrients and the
Yeah.
nutrition that are like
That's big, man.
something that are one of
That's
the
big.
most expensive
Yeah.
um thing for really worry about. And yes, the equipment's the one, but if you got good nutrition and
Yeah.
back it in with your chiropractors, masseuse, um, doctors, maybe even therapists, uh, physical therapists, and other guys
Yeah.
added to a team. That the next level. Like where Mr. Sanchez is say when if they do plan to make a team like that, that when they want to have a full team. Not only the team where the cyclists, but one team where like other people where actually they get paid for that specific job
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
nutrition,
Stipend.
everything. And then they
Yeah.
will travel with them guys. And when them guys you go to other big races, especially
Yeah.
the tours there, even the tours in
Yeah.
Central America. Because then the tours in Central America as hard as the tour in Europe as well too. But one of the things where I want to see in the future that for at least one Belizean make it at the Tour de France.
Yeah. And I think that's it's definitely going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know we have the right. Not that the other minister of sports was. He was at my event. I really know him good, but you have Minister Mala, who's you know always involved in sports. So it's only going to be better.
Uh, but sorry, not to cut you guys trust, but I remember and in cycling it's a lot of. I mean, I'm talking and I'm talking from experience, right? I know while there's a lot of development happening in the sports, I might be a bit outdated, but I think certain techniques, well, not think, but certain techniques like when it comes to intervals and certain skill set that is required in the sport of cycling that help to elevate you to that next level is the type of specialized training. Because
Yeah.
I remember that like one time, and it's because we don't have those exposure. We had a junior national team that went to Guatemala, and I think Gregor Lovell went on the velodrome when the guys went out there, and there's scouts out there. They actually saw how Gregor Lovell rode in that velodrome, and they saw he had that skill and that skill set, and that velodrome is a type of arena that it's not any cyclist could ride and could do very well in, right? So we do have like specialization in the sports that we are probably not even aware of, right?
Yeah.
I remember like back in my time we used to like have a lot of truck races,
Yeah.
and we had one time we had what they call the Belize Games, and we had like some races like Devil Takes the Most
Yeah.
Highness.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Bowman, you might know about that because
Yeah.
your brother was very keen in advocating. We're very keen in advocating for those type of sporting events, and
Yeah.
it's very interactive because similar to the criterium, to the quick races and the short
Yeah.
races within the city, it allows you to
Yeah.
get more like view of what your favorite person, and it takes a lot of skills. Like Jermaine is another guy that grew up in the truck, and having these truck races, like the devil take the most high. Every lap you have to be
Preparing.
sprinting,
Yeah.
and that is crazy, like VO2 max and intervals, right?
Yeah.
So these type of races will allow us to reach another level. What I
Yeah.
notice is the fact that now they're already clearing out Marion Jones. They're cutting down the mangroves, and despite the challenges with the forestry and environmental stuff that they're discussing,
Yeah.
the minister have a passion, and I know he will bring back that truck. So I would want to see more truck races happening out there as well.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
the truck was in my days was beautiful. I think I didn't finish good like you guys. I rode 2 cross country at 16 and 17. You know, and it was beautiful. Had a truck race
hopefully
was
in
one
the
of the
future,
things back then.
Mr. Sanchez, hopefully in
Yeah.
the future we could acquire a land base in our area where you could actually build one facility for not only for the cyclists but for base like one whole among athletes. And also you could maybe have like kada one thing I could also say believe Guatemala have one edge over we, because when I gone that is same tour where I tell you last year, I gone they came in at this facility where they base all athletes. And then right across from there, the velodrome there, I want to reach over there, like the Olympic area. So when you reach in at the velodrome, know that like it's so beautiful that it make out a cement. Yes, they're not the best one, but I mean that good that we could in the future probably invest in something like that. And I guarantee you we are could medal in a scratch races and in the velodromes, because being at sea level, a lot of sprinters that I believe that the one thing I could say we have hands down a lot of
Yeah, sprinters.
sprinters, and that is
Yeah.
something you could
And that's from
really
way
get
back.
medals from.
Yeah.
So that will be a very good investment and something hopefully in the future they could bring up to say here what we are try get some lands. Maybe in the Pine Ridge Road there are a good area for get some lands. I don't know if lands are available back there, but I mean those are areas they could
Yeah.
build facility, you know, because that's the highest ground we have in a Belize, you know, and
Yeah.
very some of the best training grounds that are one of the best piece of land you could ever train pan. You know, that are actually my training ground. And back there so they're very, very good roads for train pan.
Yeah.
And that right there so once you have like a facility with housing and the velodrome like you mentioned, that is something good for the guys that could train pan. And when they do send out one team, they could actually send a scratch team. You could send out the teams there for different, can have different events in the velodrome itself, you know, the track racing itself. So they have so many things where Belize could actually medal pan in the future, you know. So I
Yeah.
think that definitely something they could look upon, because we do have raw talents. So that tell you raw talents, they
Yeah.
have so much sprinters you could choose from. And if then guys would just go in at the track and just land the track, and then they take out the talent, they could actually medal. I
Yeah.
tell you, Paddy already, Paddy are one of them will win gold medal already in the track already. I think for Central, if I'm not mistaken, but I remember him win one scratch.
Yeah.
One scratch with the different way that like the same thing with the devil, more like you don't want to pass the line last, because if you pass the line
Yeah.
last, you are come out. So
You
that's
out the
something
race.
yeah,
Yeah.
you come out the race. That's something similar to that there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
India I'm winning a medal. So that's something in the future, hopefully. You know, cause a lot of things you want to do, but those are definitely
Yeah.
the the development side.
Yeah.
You need to say, all right, you want to develop cycling, that's something you could actually look into in when it comes to development. And like we mentioned with the coaching, you know, we need to get some more coaches on the national team.
Yeah.
You know, some guys where they could say that's your job, that's what you get paid for. We want to send you go study, we'll make you go learn everything we need to learn and come back and teach some other maybe some level one coach, you know, where you could
Yeah.
teach some people, and that the whole the thing just want to grow.
Yeah.
And then you have
Even cheaper
seminars and other
if you
stuff
could
like
bring the
that.
coach to Belize, like bring a guy like Bill to Belize, that he's a coach
Yeah,
over
for
here.
the start. Yeah, for the start. And then maybe you could go down the road to say, all right, we want to try get one European coach. We try get some man like then where kind of got different coaches in a different time. Like when Mr. Sanchez mentioned to the like, you know, everything just the change. The training just the change completely now. They're not like back in the days when guys used to just do long ride good, but you have to put in different things in it now. If you want to be one of the most competitive cyclists, you can't
Yeah.
just based on one area. You have to have a lot of things. But definitely, that is something we want to look forward for in creating a team. The first thing that to build a team, not the cyclists, the team in supporting the cyclists.
Yeah.
And then from there, you pick the cyclist then after that.
Yeah.
You know,
So
so,
in this year when you finished sixth and uh, Carlton finished fourth, I think you guys should have had like once you're in training, the like the opportunity to have traveled in some of those race, some of the international race the other guys might have.
yeah, it kind of hard for me because with my time availability, like, I have to go back to work, basically. When cross country don't know, right, your time don't know, you expired, so you have to
You have to
return to
return.
your duty. I have to serve my country. I have to pay my bills. I have to focus back in the work setting. So those are things they have to really consider if you do
Yeah.
want keep what consistency in a performance.
Yeah.
I can't ride so good in the off season, but at least around the high season I do get the time for actually try
To
train
work out and train.
and get back because
Yeah.
I have to catch up. So there were a lot of preparation leading up with that short period of time I have to use to catch back.
Yeah.
So if I do have that time, like to really get down to business and like what Mr. Sanchez said, that it becomes your job, then you could actually see the results because that's your job, that's the way they get paid for, that's the way they do it. And those are things in the future we definitely want to elevate the individuals there um to the next level, and the
Yeah.
traveling, the experience, those are definitely something where the investment no one go unseen. The performance won't go unseen because those are where you can actually have time for dip on your bike every day.
Yeah.
You know?
All right,
So
guys.
yeah,
It's
man.
beautiful having you guys. Appreciate it.
Anytime, Mr. Oz.
Uh, Lester, man, thanks for coming on. We'll do this again. Sunday. Then the following
Okay.
Sunday, I should be in Belize, so we could do it from Belize. But
Okay. Sure.
we could meet up and do it right at my house. Do it
All right.
and do it live. But appreciate it, man. You
All right.
came on to get to meet Bill. So
Yeah.
that was great, man. Talking about bike and talking about the old days and cycling
Yeah.
is beautiful. And at the event, let's say I know Travis is going to be there. I hope to see you there.
All right. Well, just keep me posted with anything that's happening, any type of events, and I'm pretty sure that God permits, I'm willing to contribute towards the sport, man.
And
I once had a passion for cycling.
yeah,
I
no,
used to
we
sleep with
all
my
did,
bike,
man. Beautiful,
and
beautiful sports.
and like Josh had rightfully said, you have to pay your bills. You get
Yeah,
older, you start to pursue your career and your
yeah,
personal development and growth. So but I want to like be back around the sports more. I
yeah,
want to be more involved in the sports, and opportunity cost, it do requires more time and
yeah.
dedication. So let's see what's going to happen. And
Guys, and
definitely,
Easter Sunday, I'm also feeding 150 kids at St. Duke Church in Lake Independence.
okay,
So,
nice,
yeah.
very good.
So I have an event I have an event this Saturday, the 13th, and Easter Sunday I'm going to be feeding. The week after I'm going to feed 150 kids at St. Duke Church in Lake Independence. And
Thank you.
the event is the week before cross country, the Sunday before
Beautiful.
cross country.
It's
All
very
right,
good
man.
to while serving the sports, you're a philanthropist as well, and doing God's work in the
Yeah,
process.
Giving back.
Maybe one of those kids that you're feeding is a future cross country champion.
Yeah,
So
we're
it's
going
about
to be talking
foundation.
bike to them while doing
Yeah,
that.
right, right.
It does.
That's the
Yeah,
way to go. Kudos to
It
you.
does.
yeah, Jeff.
At the same time, when you come, you have to pop the present too. You know, one of the plan we have that our
Oh
like I
yeah,
would say
man. Look, my one of my big things is to see you riding
project,
a
the
new bike
project.
for cross country.
Yeah, the project. I mean, I have to
Yeah,
really.
that have to come through.
Yeah, that's definitely something I would want to make the people that Belize know that that those are stuff that actually motivates a cyclist and in a
Yeah,
sense that it promotes the sports and I really have to give it a thanks, Mr. House. I
yeah.
mean,
No, that's definitely I'm child.
boost up my morale to the point that
Yeah,
and I mean like that too, that they do that to Carlton as well, so that definitely why Carlton did our next league level as well too,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. It's gonna be a great cross country, guys. I think it's gonna be a beautiful one. And
So
I have to pick the Chavarria, Leslie. I don't know who you picking, but I already
I'm
spoke
picking the
to
Belizean.
Chav and
Any
I spoke to
Belizean
them.
that is up there, I'm going to be rooting for them.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm the Chavarrias from way back. So
Well, the Chavarrias are Belizeans, right?
yeah.
All right.
Man, I
Hi
go.
man, this is Bike Chat coming you from
Fried Jack, and how they call it, beans and
yeah,
Johnny Cake and
Johnny King.
quarter
Yeah,
bun.
Yeah,
yeah, Belizean to the bone.
Yeah,
All
but
right,
he's actually
good.
good.
hi
All
man.
right, guys.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to express
Yeah,
myself and to contribute towards the development.
I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
thanks for
Appreciate.
meeting you as well, Mr. Leslie. Nice
Yeah,
meeting
All
you,
right,
sir.
no problem.
all
Sure,
right.
anytime.
We do
Yeah.
this again.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
sure. Good night. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for being on Bike Chat. This is Bike Chat coming in from Brooklyn, New York with Oswald Bowman. Appreciate the guys that came on tonight. You had Mr. Sanchez, Josyln Chavarria Jr., and Bill Elson. Appreciate you guys. This is Bike Chat coming in from Brooklyn, New York. Good
Thank
night.
you. God bless.